Was there something in my walk, how I talk, giving off the wrong energy? Was there something in my stride, too much pride, telling you to back down? Slowly, slowly you became my enemy. But you can't seem to get enough of me. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all. Was there something in my walk, how I talk, giving off the wrong energy? Was there something in my stride, too much pride, telling you to back down?
Tries to hold on to the bottom. Here comes Gisette. They make contact. They touch once, twice, 3 times.
Foul trouble! Oh, no, Rocky into the wall. Big crash front straightaway. Huge crash coming into the triangle. No, Rocky up and into the air. They're beating and banging. Brown the bottom, Cosman up top. Cosman, I think. No, Breyer by 1/1000th of a second. Joseph, no! At the line, Thunhorse pulls the win out at the stripe. Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas. Get your foot there. He's got it. He's got it. The canvas is going to win.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to FDF.GG's coverage of the 5th race for Round 2 of the 2022 eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series. We're live from the virtual Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. I'm choking on air. I'm Jacob Hitz. Glad to have you along for the ride. Excuse me. Blake McCandless and Sean Butler are here with me. And, yeah, so welcome to Darlington. Some drivers doing some throwback schemes tonight. And Blake, I know the Coke Series has run here in the past. This series ran here a season ago, so these guys pretty familiar with this racetrack, even though the trucks haven't run here at Darlington a ton recently.
Not so much recently, but they did run this in round 1 last year. So most of these drivers who are part of this will have a little bit of experience with this truck running at this racetrack. And of course, it's typical Darlington, right? Hard to drive. You're driving the racetrack more than you're driving other competitors out there. And of course, track position is going to be so important because passing, having clean air is going to be very important.
Passing's going to be important. Track position going to be important. Another important part, Sean, is the fact that tire wear is huge here. Tires, it's just like a cheese grater, this racetrack. The virtual Goodyear tires, they're not going to hold together for very long tonight.
Yeah, I was about to use the cheese grater analogy you used for this place too, but if you've even driven this place on the sim, or everyone knows in real life that have driven it, this place just chews tires up. It is going to be so important, as you were saying, to keep all 4 tires, particularly the rear tires, underneath the truck and not having you swerving all over the place, especially at the exit of the corners. So these guys are going to be in conserve mode from the very beginning. We've seen from the NIS races earlier this week on the official side of things, people are putting tire saving at the forefront for those races. And for this one, I would expect nothing less, nothing different from this field here tonight.
Don't mind me looking up, by the way, just making sure I'm not being made a fool of with the right before we go on air. Hey, let's wear hats backward tonight.
Your hat's crooked a little, Jacob. It's kind of like...
I just kind of threw it on. Deal with it. I walked through the door
Sean and I, we got the logo and everything, just
mine
going
says
right here.
sports director. Does that count?
It's good. It's a logo.
Yeah.
That's why fitteds work a lot better in this situation.
Yeah, well, it can only do so much. Qualifying is going on as we speak. We've got about a minute to go in that pole position right now. Tentatively belongs to Santiago Tires. He is atop the standings. Oh, yeah, he's atop the standings by about maybe a 100th of a second over Andrew Navarro, who currently sits in second. This final minute will tick on by, and we'll get set to go through our starting grid and show off our field of 30 here tonight from Darlington. Let's take a look at the points coming into tonight. Points are tight where it matters up
there
in
they
the
are.
front. Yep, this is without the drop. So Parker White high atop. Obviously, the top 20 move on. 21st on back. They are out of luck. Brandon John Kohler is the cut line, tied with Blaze Crawford. Then on the outside looking in, Tyler Gary out by 3. Timmy Holmes, Dalton Collins, and the rest all trying to work their way toward that top 20 and get themselves in. They can move on to the contender round.
And that is going to be so important. I think one thing about going through this every single year as we get deeper and deeper into this round is that all these races just put these drivers so close together, and why you have to be so consistent all year, because we have so many drivers right now. Just looking at the standings with a drop right now, I mean, 32nd place, and again, we're only taking the top 20 down to 32nd, is still within 9 points of that cut line. So every single race, every position you qualify is just so important.
Run through our starting grid as qualifying is complete. Santiago Tires will be on pole position. Andrew Navarro on the outside. Brendan John Kohler and Jake Nichols in row 2. Colton Salick, Ryan Doucette, they make up row number 3. Then it's Kyler Wynn, Daniel Botafuco, Seth DeMerchant, Michael Bumgardner rounding out the top 10.
Looking at 11th, back to row number 6. That'll be Ethan Lane. Johnny Avila will start in 12th. James Winsell, he'll start from the 13th spot. Kyle Myers will roll off from 14th. Jordy Lopez Jr., high up in the standings, he'll start in 15th. Christopher Hill in 16th. Drew Freenage will start in the 17th position. Kevin King, looking to rebound after IRP, will roll off 18th. Give 19th to Blaze Crawford and Tanner Love. Sean will round out your top 20.
And going to row 11, Max Brady rolling off 21st, Dalton Collins 22nd, Garrison Hogan 23rd, Wyatt Tinsley 24th, Timmy Pacioli in 25th. Omar Diallo will be rolling off next with him. Christian Peterson, Shane Williamson, Dustin Johnson, and Thomas Keene will round out the field tonight, Jacob.
That is your field, and Timmy Pacioli starting toward the back of the field. He started in position number 2 weeks ago at IRP, and then in turn 2, around he went in front of the field. So he'll get a different perspective tonight. He'll be starting toward the back. So, field about set to go. And eventually, we'll get rolling. Maybe. Bueller.
Got done with the grid awfully early. So
yeah. Well, normally we don't sit here for the whole 2 minutes. But somebody is making our life a nightmare and decided to wait till the last possible second to get out on the racetrack.
Well, it's not Jordan Worth. He's not in this race. He usually does that, so we got to figure out who that is.
I think there we go. We're rolling now.
And everybody is here.
Yes, and man, it's interesting to see the separation here in qualifying. Only 2 drivers in the 29.0s. Then you have about another 10 or 11 that are in the 29 1-second bracket. The rest pretty much in the 29.2s. So that's kind of a hallmark of Road to Pro Racing, is everybody being so close in terms of qualifying times. And Tires and Navarro able to nail a lap again. Darlington, this is probably one of the more difficult places that we come to qualify all season long, just because there's so much speed right up by the wall. That's the most dangerous spot to run on the track, but it's the fastest. As we'll throw it down to the 4th member of our broadcast team, Justin Malillo, just before we go green.
Thank you, Blake. Looking at tonight's race, we got 120 laps on the board. These guys will be looking at either a one-stop or a two-stop strategy, depending on the tires and depending on the cautions. We'll see how it all plays out.
Thank you, Justin. He was on a road trip this week with the M&R Championship race, was down there in person, running on very little sleep. Same with our producer, Zach Johnson. So some busy folks this week. Here we go. They are stacking up. They're 3 wide. We're racing at Darlington in race number 5. And we're going to make it, it looks like, to turn 1.
Let's see if they can sort it out single file. They're able to do so for the most part, but you're exactly right, Jacob. A lot of congestion right there, trying to guess that jump on the start. Heavy damage for Kyler Wynn back in the 7th position right now. The front and rear end of his truck has some pretty significant damage, so that is very worrisome. These drivers, especially here in these trucks, will run their tape as high as they possibly can. It's 82 degrees outside, so very hot. So for Kyler Wynn, that is a major concern that he may overheat that truck.
Got to be careful in these opening laps, and front end damage has been an issue. Caution. Trouble turn 1. I believe they saved it. Timmy Pascioli.
Wow.
Tanner Love, how about being in the cause of this? Max Brady involved, and he got up and into the air.
This had an origin story to it for this one, as usually these Darlington wrecks do. So Tanner Love there, it looks like in that 51, he's in the 27 in sim. It looks like he just got a little too high in 1 and 2, maybe grazed the wall a little bit, came down, and that's right where Max Brady was, and he had nowhere to go, and the rear end was actually picked up off of the ground onto the hood of the 51. So not how you want to start the race if you're either of those guys. But Garrison Hogan had a front row seat to that, and he says, I really appreciate that, guys, over the radio. So bit surprising here, Jacob. Lap 2 and 3 already under the yellow here at Darlington.
Last time I was here at Darlington with these trucks, I believe it was Caden Lapsevich. It went flying coming off turn number 2. On the last lap, I don't remember exactly who it was. It was either Lapsevich or it was Carson Hocevar. I don't know why it was one of those two. It was. I could go back and look, but that would take too much time. Meanwhile, we're under caution for just the first time on lap 2. We've got half a dozen trucks, maybe more on pit road, those at the back, and those that were involved in that crash. So, Blake, did these guys learn anything throughout these first 2 laps that we had under green, if that?
Yeah, track position matters, but you see a lot of these trucks. You see the 3 right there coming down to pit road. A lot of damage on that truck, and that's what I think most of these drivers who came down. Again, there was a big stack up. It was around the Colton Salick machine as he was starting 5th on the inside row. He kind of jumped the gun a little bit, got into the back of Brendan Kohler, and Kyler Wynn pretty much got the worst end of that. You can see the damage right there on the 9 of Colton Salick. He has front end damage and rear end damage. So does Kyler Wynn right behind them. They were able to keep up for the most part during the early part of that run, but you'd have to imagine that is going to be a pretty big concern for those teams who, again, probably monitoring those temps, making sure that in traffic they're going to be okay. And that's just one of those tough things about this Road to Pro series, is that you really make the next round, you make contender not only off your strong runs, but you can't make mistakes. And that's just an unfortunate break for both those drivers and a couple others who got wrapped up in that.
Just an update, Omar Diallo did not grid. He is not on the racetrack. We started with 29 cars. He is not in the session. Max Brady has a meatball flag, so he more than likely will not rejoin this race, at least anytime soon. A lot of damage to that truck. Everybody else, no meatballs, but certainly some damage throughout the field. We are lined up double file to get us back to green here from Darlington. Only 2 more races to go after tonight. I know we end at Texas. And of course, how could I forget? 2 weeks from now, we're at Bristol Dirt.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
A track we saw in the first round, but it was not dirt when they ran it then the first time around. Kind of the opposite of the Coke Series.
So if anybody wants to find any work for me to do on September 15th, let me know.
Don't sound so excited, Jacob.
I was gonna say I can't say I'm excited for that race. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. Green flag. One truck jumps it down onto the inside to try and pass before the start-finish line. That's Ethan Lane. He is going to get a black flag, so he is going to have to pit because he jumped the start, passing before the start-finish line. Tanner Love, also a black flag, but he was, I believe, speeding on pit road since he was coming off pit road as the field got the green flag. And Ethan Lane's in a mess back here 3 wide as he heads to the apron.
And he's not going to waste any time. He's going to try to make it down on this first lap. And again, we just talked about it. You can't make mistakes in this series. This is where really in this round 2 you really start to separate the drivers who are able to put in races together and execute and who's not. So was trying to avoid Kyler Wynn, who again we mentioned he has that damage, so probably a little slow. But yeah, Ethan Lane, a little bit of a mistake right there will cost him a lot of track position that is very hard to get back in these races.
How about the battle for the 14th position? James Wenzel, Drew Freynar side by side back here, a little deeper in traffic. They'll be door to door, headed back to turn number 1. Looks like Freynar's on the bottom, going to be able to take that spot away.
And that's what you got to do, especially here at Darlington. If you're side by side, especially this early, you don't want to push it at all. And good job by Wenzel letting Freenage go there into 1. And this is one of those tracks where we're like, well, I'll let you go now and I'll see you in about 20 laps, depending on how the tires are. So a lot of take right now, not a lot of give early on in this race, but we'll see that change as this thing goes on. It'll get a lot tighter for now as the front about, I would say, well, pretty much everybody now single file.
It's pretty much.
But that's
go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, sorry. I was just about to say that's kind of devastating for Max Brady, who needed a good points day. Also, Garrison Hogan, 1 point above the cut line. He is running off the pace right now, 26th, but he is losing time to the field. You can see the damage on that truck, so he's going to have to kind of just manage a poor situation here. But, again, that's an opportunity for drivers just beneath the cut line to try to make up some spots.
Never know what could happen. Especially here at Darlington, this one, it is a one-lane racetrack. So passing here is tough. If you get caught in an incident, you get caught in traffic, good luck, because damage on your race truck could just be the end of the day. By the way, if you hear any distant screaming going on, Penn State is trying to win a football game right now, and I believe that's all the commotion going on in the background with me. So if you hear any yelling that doesn't have anything to do with racing, Purdue probably did something important. Nonetheless, 10 laps are complete. Santiago Tires leads the way. We've got a battle, really nowhere, but some close battling. Well, for 8th, how about DeMerchant? Colton Salick back here.
And Michael Baumgartner will slide back as well there, too. So it looks like he will take over that spot. And they're side by side right now here, Blake. We're talking about it's being a one-lane track. In official competition, I don't know how much you've run this week, Blake. I know you've been out of North Wilkesboro and everywhere, but we've seen the bottom in turns 3 and 4 actually be viable. So these guys are running pretty much the traditional Darlington line for now, but we'll see. Maybe someone tries to use that apron or maybe that seam down there to try to get some extra grip, but there is some grip down there if they can get it right.
You see Colton Salick right there. He is going to pit. I think, yeah, he had to pit for overheating as he heads down to pit road to you, Justin. What are you hearing?
Yeah, he came over the radio and he said, I'm blowing up. I'm pitting this time. Just, another victim of this overheating issue, just getting that damage on the front of the nose.
I was going to say, you can see the damage, or you could see the damage on the front of that race truck. It's beat in pretty hard, like he just walloped the back of somebody or just hit the inside wall head on. A lot of damage for him. Tough break as far as points. We'll see if he is able to rebound at all. Remember, no fast repair for these guys. So you get any damage, you're stuck with it the rest of the night. The crew can only do so much to buff it out.
And I'm surprised, again, we talk about mistakes on the track. That's a mistake off the track, I think, right there for Colton Salick. That's an opportunity. You had a caution right there. And, even we said it. We saw the damage right there and said, hey, that could be a potential issue. That's something that could have been addressed under yellow because all he did during that green flag stop was come down and take tape off. So that's just one of those factors. You wanted to wait losing all that track position to take some tape off and make sure you weren't going to overheat maybe repair some of the damage. You take that risk, and now you're a lap down, and you didn't have time to take tires in the green. So again, a little bit of a mistake right there, strategy-wise, on the box for Colton Salick.
The battle going into turn number 3. That's up around Kyler Wynn. Up here near the 10th spot, Johnny Avila is there. Michael Baumgartner is there as well in that 97.
Now, I'm actually really surprised with Kyler Wynn right now. We alluded to all of his damage in that 82 truck running the 29 in the sim. That front end is pushed in. It looks like he just ran right into a tree stump or something to push that thing in. But to my surprise, it doesn't look like his truck is getting all that affected. See, he's kind of trying to stay out of the dirty air there for the 24 of Johnny Avila right ahead of him. So I don't know if he can maybe just kind of soldier on in this race and just kind of slowly address the damage every pit stop. He might not be in that bad a shape, and he's just able to hang in there right now. So got to give credit to Kyler for doing what he can with the card he was dealt at the start of this thing.
How about a tight battle further back? Christopher Hill trying to charge through the field, getting by James Wenzel. That could open up the door for Blaze Crawford. Dalton Collins side by side. Yes, sir.
And this is where it gets really difficult here. But like you said, Sean, I think the bottom in 3 and 4, especially these trucks, somewhat viable. You can try to use a little bit of side draft as well here, as though they're going to be side by side entering turn 1. That's always pretty tough. That was almost a moment right there. Right around Parker White.
You know, difficult side by side here, absolutely. But they can make it work. You go any more than 2 wide, though, and you're definitely in trouble. And the longer we're on tires here, I think the less bold moves we'll see. Just because you go down in the corner thinking you've got grip, and you don't have grip, you're going to be wiping somebody out.
It's been a tale of 2, I guess, strategies to start this race out, as we were alluding to before at the top of the broadcast. Tires are, I guess, of the utmost importance right now, especially this far into the run. So we're going to see a lot of guys early on in the race have a lot of speed, show a lot of strength, but as these tires wear out, we're going to see whose setups are set up just for that long run. And right now, the front of the field, Santiago Tiras is pulling away from Andrew Navarro right now, and he's still maintaining that gap. But right now, Jake Nichols right behind them, slowly starting to reel these guys in ahead of him. So maybe he's got that better long run truck, as him and Brendan Kohler right now are starting to reel in that number 1 truck.
Trying to do the best they can. Looking at the lap times, Navarro slowest out of the top 5. Check that. Doucette's the slowest out of the top 5, but Navarro's second slowest. This time by, though, Tiras just fell off a ton. He fell off almost half a second that lap and actually lost some time to the rest of the field. The gap closing in. It was 7/10. It's now under 6/10 of a second.
And an update on Kyler Wynn right now. Oh, as he almost had contact in turn number 1 with Christopher Hill trying to get back in line. I think that damage is really starting to affect the front downforce of that 82 machine. He is, again, started in 7th, just lost a couple of spots right there. I believe he's fallen back to 15th now. So for Kyler Wynn, tough sledding right now.
That's Dalton Collins, Blaze Crawford, almost reckoned, coming off turn 4. That was very, very close.
And these guys are so close that if one of these guys wrecks, pretty much everyone behind them is going to wreck as well. So they got to be really careful. And you really have to time your passes perfectly. You know, you guys have seen all these races at Darlington. It's so narrow. And as you mentioned, Jacob, really a one-groove track. But if they can get any extra grip anywhere, they will try to find it. It's a little bit further behind Blaze Crawford, as you kind of lagged in and out there a little bit. You can glance to the inside as just ahead of them. We got some issues happening right now. Looks like Johnny Avila got into the wall in 1 and 2.
That's the other part here. You're running dangerously close to the outside wall everywhere you go, and just one mistake could cost you a lot of time. Battle for the lead. Andrew Navarro has caught Santiago Tiras going around the outside off turn 4, looking for the spot, driving the wheels off that thing, and I think Tiras realized, all right, maybe I need to start saving some tires. He backs off a ton, and Jake Nichols almost runs him over.
just have to think something happened to Tires, because he had about a second lead, perhaps just a little less, and just lost it all instantly. So, yeah, maybe he just pushed a little too hard. He's giving up a lot of time right now. I don't know what's going on, if he's just very loose or whatnot, but clearly Tires did not save his tires. Kind of reminds me of Mini Tyrell at North Wilkesboro last night. Went up there, charged, took the lead, and now he might be paying for it.
They need to fall back. He drops outside the top 5 as Daniel Botafuco goes by him. Septa Merchant, low ways back, almost a second back on Tires. And I mean, like I said, he dropped off half a second. Looking at his lap time, 30.8, 31.0, 31.1, 31.3, 31.4. His last time by 32.4. I think that was just to let everybody by. This time by, though, a 32.1. So Tira's really falling back as they're side by side, further behind him.
I might have an answer for this. Producer Zach, can we go on board with Santiago Tires really quick? Because I think this is all a strategy call. Take a listen. Yep. He's watching this. So he is thinking fuel strategy right off the bat here. So he's probably predicting a long green flag run for this thing to maybe make it in one stop. So Santi Tires trying to be a couple steps ahead of the field, as meanwhile these guys are just fighting like crazy back here behind.
I'm going to say that goes into what Justin talked about at the top of the show in doing just a one-stop strategy to try and make it the distance on fuel, as these guys Collins almost bouncing off each other off turn 2. Kyler Wynn as well.
And remember, if you think back to the Contender Series last year, I was a part of that race, and that was the entire thing about that race. I think we had the exact same amount of laps, 120, and yeah, it was pretty much a split where a large chunk of the field wanted to stop once. I chose that strategy. That ended up being a horrendous decision because of how many drivers essentially chose it and were saving in front of you. You lost so much track position, and then everybody else did a two-stopper. So it was, I think that's the one thing we're seeing right now is Tires backing off. I wonder if now that we're talking about it just a little bit more, that some other drivers will back off. One truck I do want to mention at some point tonight is Michael Bumgarner out here running in 10th. He's got a little bit of damage on his nose right now, but just I got to give a shout out to him, man. He is going to be the last driver to ever win on the pavement at North Wilkesboro that currently sits there right now. Won the limited late model feature last night, ran really well on Tuesday night, and went out and got the win Wednesday night. I mean, what an incredible feeling for that young man that he's going to be able to carry that memory for the rest of his life. He was very emotional getting out and celebrating with his family, and just what a cool moment for him. Regardless of what happens tonight or anything, that's something that, you know, he'll carry with him for the rest of his life.
And I think it's very cool to talk about how the real world iRacing translates into the real world. Fast on iRacing, fast in real life. Obviously with Bumgarner, who doing pretty well, I would say, in both. Whoa, look out. Oh, man. Really loose off turn 2. And that's Bumgarner. Go figure. Right on cue.
That's a big moment there for that 97 truck as he saw Kevin King scoot on by. He's got to deal with Drew Freenage getting by, Chris Hill drifting by now, Johnny Avila coming through. So I don't think this is any fuel saving issues for him. His truck is just struggling for grip now, as we've seen off the last couple of corners. And I don't know if I can see this properly, Blake, but it looks like he has a little bit of front end damage as Chris Hill go by.
He got a little bit of damage on that start as well. He was on the outside. He had contact with Daniel Botafuco, and he has had a little bit of nose damage since the drop of the green. So that restart has affected multiple drivers that started up here in the top 10.
31 laps are complete here at Darlington. Your race leader is Andrew Navarro for the time being. He's got about a second lead over Jake Nichols and company. Let's take a look. Battle for 9th and 10th. Kevin King around the outside of Tires, who we know is trying to save gas.
I'm surprised that as he's saving that nobody's really joining him. You know, we're not really hearing a whole lot of drivers clutch. I'm trying to kind of go on board and listen to a couple of onboards, and right now, just not a whole lot of drivers that are going to look at that strategy, I believe.
Is he saving too much, Blake? I mean, he was leading a while ago, and now he's dropped all the way back to 10th, and it looks like he's not done yet.
I think it's one of those things that being out front, you obviously get worse fuel mileage, so he probably wanted to get in the draft, but I like where he sits right now. Again, in Contender, when I tried this strategy, I started in the back of the field, and everyone who was in the back of the field went on that strategy, so you're checking each other up, you're in dirty air, you're losing a lot of track position that way. Santi started with fantastic track position. I mean, he was a pole sitter, so he may be oversaving a little bit, but if this is the strategy that is clearly the best, I don't think sitting about 5 seconds behind the leader is a bad thing. Actually outran Andrew Navarro by about 2/10 that last time. So I think it's one thing. It's not a matter of when, but if he can push and just how much fuel he needs to save.
It's time by, 35 laps complete. Navarro continues to lead the charge. How about the battle we got forming here for 8th? Joey Lopez Jr., Kevin King.
Jordy's starting to kind of try to march through the field here. Nice little throwback for Jordy as well here. He's got that 2020 Road to Pro scheme designed by Matt Danson. You guys probably heard of Matt Danson if you're on, the league racing or pretty much anything on the service. Matt, a very, very good guy, very well liked in the community. As he put together this scheme for Jordy, and Jordy won 2 top split races in it as well. So Jordy hoping this scheme will bring him some luck tonight, and by the looks of it, it's off to a good start. That Ford truck looks very fast.
Had a shot to win at Michigan. Obviously, we know what happened there about a month ago. Got turned while leading with 18 laps to go, and then got stuck in traffic, involved in a couple more accidents. And since then, he's just been trying to rebound and dig himself kind of out of the hole. See if today is the day for that Alta C Sports driver. It seems like a lot of those Alta C Sports guys running throwback paint schemes tonight. He's not the only one. Christian Peterson's running one.
There's one.
Seth DeMerchant, wherever he's at, I believe he's running one. There's Doucette, he's running one as well.
See with Ryan Doucette with that's his 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series scheme when he ran for Clint Boyer Racing. So is it really a throwback when it's a year-old scheme? Can we call it that? Would it qualify? How long of a scheme does it have, or how long of a time does a scheme have to be retired for it to be a throwback consideration?
I'm not really quite sure about that. I mean, Daniel Buttafuoco right behind him, that's a throwback to a paint scheme that he ran for Germain Racing in the 2020 eNASCAR Heat Pro League. So not a very old throwback either, but again, nice to kind of bring the scheme back out. He ran very well in that scheme. I believe he won the championship, didn't he?
Possible. Just think of this throwback. STP, the petty colors. They've been running that scheme every year since like 1800. How can we throw back to a scheme they just ran the year before?
That's a tad excessive there, Jacob. I don't think it was 1800.
Yeah, I know. I was told a million times not to exaggerate, but still.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of these guys are running paint schemes that mean a lot to them, of course, as we've alluded to before. A lot of these have a lot of good backstories to them, and so I would say if you want to run a paint scheme and it's older than what you're running now, go for it. So if it means a lot to you, feel it could have a good story attached to it, by all means, throw it on the truck and see how it goes. As right now, Doucette up at the front here, looking at the inside of Jake Nichols, and Nichols will give it to him going into 3. So move Doucette up to P2.
Could open up the door for Buttafuoco as well there. He sits in 4th. That Germain Racing machine, that 13.
So if we are going to see a 2-stop strategy pulled by somebody, this would be around the time that we would start seeing people duck to pit road, would be around the lap 40 or just past the lap 40 mark. So I would imagine if everybody is good, it'll be about 20 laps until we see them come down pit road. But I don't see too many trucks that are looking like they're going to come down pit road just yet.
And nobody's come over the radio and said that they're going to be pitting here in the near future. And I have to imagine here, guys, you guys have more on-track experience here than I, but I would imagine it is very difficult to try and pit here under green.
At pitting here, you have to practice pitting here pretty much just as much that you have to practice, your race strategy. It is green flag pit stops here, especially, are so vital to this because they can make you break your race. We've seen it a bunch of times, in the real deal, in pretty much every single real race that's happened here. People have thrown their races away just by having bad pit entries. So everything is so perfectly timed, and Blake, you can attest to this. It is so difficult to get the timing right to get to pit road in an efficient amount of time. And if you're even maybe like a foot too far forward from your braking point, you're going to have a hard time slowing that truck down.
Yeah, it's difficult, but the one thing about it is there's a lot of time to gain if you do it well, because it's so tough. If you're able to exit in the right spot and hit your mark just perfectly, you can make up, you can leapfrog a couple of trucks in front of you. So there's a lot to lose and there's a lot to gain because there's just so many different ways you can try to enter pit road at this track.
With worn tires especially, it's got to be difficult. I watched Jake Nichols a lap and a half ago coming off turn 4, about drop it right in front of Daniel Bonafuco and cause a crash. That was very, very close up here battling for this third spot. Tanner Love is throwing in the towel. He has parked it. He's done for the night. Max Brady still sits on pit road. He has not officially thrown it in, but any shot he had at going to victory lane is over.
I don't mean to toot my own horn here, Jacob, but if we watch these guys going through turn 3 and 4, I've noticed as the tires have worn out, a lot of these guys have elected to run the bottom through 3 and 4. We see second place Ryan Doucette go down there. Daniel Bonafuco's running about the middle right now. So a lot of these guys, to find that extra grip on these worn tires, kind of trying to run the middle and like the bottom lanes as well. So like I said, we're going to be searching for grip all night, and these guys are not wasting any time trying to find that extra tenth or two.
46 laps complete. Navarro continues to lead the way. He's got just a little more than half a second over Ryan Doucette. Then Doucette's got more than a second back to Nichols. So pretty spread out here at the front of the field. How about Brendan John Kohler battling with Seth the Merchant for the moment, coming off 4?
Right now, the Merchant hasn't made a ton of gains right now. Started 9th, is up to 6th. Directly in front of him, Kyle Myers has had a really nice drive through the field. Started in 14th. He's up to the 5th starting spot, especially at a track where it's so difficult to pass. Kevin King started in 18th and has made his way up into the 8th spot. So King doing a very nice job as well. Jordy Lopez has gained 6 spots since the drop of the green flag. So nice job by 3 or 4 trucks that have really raced their way through pretty well.
A lot of pretty good movers, and it's impressive to have that here, Sean, when passing is so difficult.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of this is really timing everything, because you'll see a lot of these guys maybe sacrifice a little bit on the entry to the corner to try to get a better exit, to try to get alongside of somebody. And with these guys, are like we were saying earlier, are showing a lot of give and take right now. As if you see, guys that are to the inside of somebody, if they're far enough inside, they'll just say, all right, here you go. You can have it. I'm trying to get to the end of this thing. So when they say you got to race the racetrack here, not everybody else, this is pretty much the track they talk about it at, because you're not racing the competitors. You're just racing to keep that truck off the wall and in one piece at the end of this thing. And we see Garrison Hogan. He was trying to make some laps involved in that early wreck to bring out the first caution, and the engine has expired on that truck, and he is unfortunately going to pull it behind the wall, and an early end to Garrison's race tonight.
Heartbreak for him. Best he can do will finish in the 27th or maybe 28th position. So we will step aside here from Darlington. 50 laps complete. Andrew Navarro is your race leader from Darlington. We're back after this here on the eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series. Back here from Darlington, 55 laps are complete this time by Andrew Navarro, still your leader. We're 5 laps away from halfway, and we think, Justin, that pit stops are soon.
Yeah, I would say so. If these guys are doing a one-stop strategy, it looks like everybody in the field is going to be doing a one-stop strategy here. We were wondering, because Santi was pushing in the clutch, if they were going to even make it to halfway, but it looks like that shouldn't be a problem, as everybody still on the track. All of the top 19 have not made a pit stop yet. Everybody through 24th pitted on lap 3 during that caution. So I do expect pit road to be a busy place here very shortly.
Okay, so I've been told to ask about the pit crew challenge. You are on pit road for us. I'm told to ask about the pit road challenge, Justin.
No, we don't have to talk about the pit crew challenge, because Zach, our producer, is a dirty cheater.
Wow.
Wow, there you have it. I figured a picture was coming when I saw the ticker go away. So
Look at the strength of Justin holding that gas can with just one hand. That is
unbelievable.
Incredible
I'm surprised
stuff.
he hasn't been signed by a team.
Regular chocolate Myers out there.
You know, guys, I think we might be pitting soon.
Yeah, well, we just talked about that too, and I think that might be the case. We'll just have to wait and see. Got a good battle for 6th. The Merchant, Kevin King. They're going at it right now, coming through 3 and 4. We're 2 laps away from halfway already. This thing's flying by.
It is, and now we start to think about, well, I think we were kind of wrong about TRS saving, because everybody, I think with relative ease, is going to be able to make it to the halfway point. So I think he's just falling back. He has been pretty loose from what I've seen, but I think he's just falling back.
It's begun.
Race leader making the call, Andrew Navarro, pit road, party of 1. He makes it onto pit road without any issues.
Only one down there, though. That's an interesting development there. So trying to undercut the entire field, I guess, is Andrew. But is it a little too early or a little... I don't know. I guess it may be a little bit too early to tell, but he is a lonely man on pit road right now.
I don't know. The one thing I like about that call, though, is you're not going to get short pit. You're not going to have somebody from 2nd or 3rd come down a lap or 2 earlier and pass you. So he's trying to keep the track position, but of course, with everybody staying out, you know, he's not going to be able to dig as much on those fresh tires. But not a bad call, because he just did not want to get past.
Kyle Myers, Brendan Kohler, Michael Bumgarner.
If they're just waiting to halfway, so we couldn't do an iRacing midway race break. That's
Calculated.
incredible. Yeah.
Leaders pitting.
Lopez Jr. pitting.
Here we go. The floodgates are opening for pit road now. Doucette pulling off.
Oh, boy. Lighting the tires up. Doucette was putting some tire tracks down there trying to get to the road. That was a little loose.
Oh, man. Someone just was really hot getting into pit road. Who was that?
I think that was Chris Hill. No black flag there.
Yeah, all good.
And that might be the entry of the race right now. He was like a 2nd behind Santi, and now he's right on his bumper going in. We're talking about gaining time, Blake, and that's a textbook right there.
Yeah, that's how you do it. It's just get it really deep and just hope when you speed past the line that you can get it slowed down before you trip the timing line and get caught. Seth Merchant, your race leader, he's on pit road now.
Drew Freenage staying out.
Locked it up. Wyatt Tinsley was just standing on the brake coming to pit road and was able to get it stopped in time. We continue to wait for some to come onto pit road. Freenars, Thomas Keene, he pitted up that first caution.
Freenage, I believe, is the last one to pit right now, so he's coming in this time.
That has not pitted at all, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Thomas Keene, he's almost crashing. He's on the apron, drifting in 3 and 4. He is stopped at the entrance of pit road against the inside wall.
Well, and perhaps unluckily for him, that doesn't warrant a yellow flag. All the way on the apron. Darlington's one of those tracks with iRacing cautions. It's pretty lenient with cars spinning on the apron. You have to be on the racing surface. We'll take another look at it.
See. Is it one of those deals? Wow, he was spinning before. Well, this is a separate incident.
Yeah, that's different. That's Dustin Johnson, I think.
That's a good donut right there. Didn't win the race, but he still got it done.
Yep.
Now here we go. We'll take a look at the 4. This is coming out of 2, so it'll be a little bit. So you think maybe the brake bias has an issue with this little entry here, Blake? Because we see guys, if they're too hard on the brakes here, I saw Wyatt Tinsley earlier, and he just throws it down there. And I don't know, that might just be a natural spin there. Came in way too hot.
It could be that. It could be the banking transition, turning too much. Your right rear is already hot because you're loose on this run. Could be a number of things, but nevertheless, a big time loss there for Thomas King and for Dustin Johnson.
Shane Williamson is back on pit road. He has a black flag. Get that black flag? Well, you guess speeding on pit exit. He had
too fast, section 8.
Sure.
We'll go with that. But back racing now, Andrew Navarro, as we see the battle right now heating up. I believe that's for third, Botafuco and Myers. So Botafuco will take the spot, but Andrew Navarro, we were talking about the quote-unquote undercut. That pit sequence netted him a 5-second lead over Ryan Doucette. So benefit right now for Andrew is the big lead. The problem is he's got to make his tires last to maintain that lead.
Jake Nichols was going at it there with the lap car of Dustin Johnson. Johnson faster on fresher tires, passing Nichols. Nichols, of course, 12th on the racetrack, has fallen back after pit stops. Didn't appreciate getting raced really hard by the lap car. Dustin Johnson back in 24th, the 4th car, 1 lap down, 4th truck.
Trying to look at Doucette's lap times. He's, despite the fact that Navarro kind of shortcut them a little bit, Ryan's not really gaining on Andrew. So that is a really good sign for Navarro. You'd think that he'd kind of come out with a little bit of a larger lead and would kind of lose a little bit of time slowly to Doucette, who would have, maybe 2 lap fresher tires or so. But he has maintained and even extending that lead. So very good news for the Navarro camp. And Navarro in a unique position right now. I mean, he's your points leader. He has 2 wins already. He's going for 3 in a row. I mean, at this point, he would be all but locked in right now if this should hold. I mean, he could probably miss Bristol Dirt and Texas after this and would probably still be in really good shape. He has 1 drop of 13 points. The lowest amount of points he's gotten in a race is 32. And that's for finishing, if I can do some math in my head right quick, that's a 5th place finish. So he's in a very, very good spot right now to just cruise. And even if he doesn't win this race,
Oh, turn 1, sent the Merchant washed up, put Dustin Johnson in the fence, almost turned Ethan Lane around. Even on fresh tires, it's difficult to be too wide, and Seth the Merchant almost junked not 1 but 2 lap cars plus himself in turn 1.
I don't know if he really came up. I think Dustin Johnson really a little bit earlier to Dustin, who, he's rolling on fresh tires. He was a lap down, but it looks like he just kind of ran into the back of Seth right there.
.50 to go. Here from Darlington, the gap 5.6 seconds and increasing for the lead. Closest battle you've got on the racetrack might be Jordi Lopez Jr., Santiago Tires. They're within 0.3 of a second of each other. Brendan John Kohler is battling with Christopher Hill. Kohler has a lot of rear end damage. Hill goes by, and here comes Kevin King. This is 7th, 8th, and 9th.
And Kevin King, he showed that really good long run speed in that first run, looking to replicate that. Doesn't have as far to go in terms of passing trucks or number of trucks he has to pass. So Kevin putting himself in a really good spot. That truck looks really fast right now, as we have, I believe, some server issues happening now. Santi Tires, it says it just
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for, Parker Retzlaff, he's a spotter. He just fell out. Santi fell out. Vicente Salas, he's also a spotter, just fell out.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man, you hate that for Santi. He was having such a good run.
Trying to save that fuel, remember, save his tires. Brendan John Kohler just blinked out.
Don't tell me.
He has not come back yet. Uh-oh. We could be in for the long haul, folks.
Oh, no. You never want to see this,
Kohler's
especially
back.
Especially in a race so important.
His quality right now is at 53. Everybody else still batting 100 or 99. Kohler down, starting to go back up.
If only we had red flags in this.
Yeah.
Tira's going to get reconnected here. You have to wonder, would that affect anybody in the other race as well? I think Jackson Crowder may have been affected. I'm not quite sure. I just see that he's on pit road in the other split. I'm not sure if anybody else got put a lap down or so by that in the other split, if it's an iRacing server issue.
Is it one of those Carolina things happening again?
Checking in, and maybe issues with Tucker Minter's connection as well. Maybe it sounds like it's kind of all over the place that was having some issues, but I think we're back rolling now.
7 drivers from the Carolinas in here, so.
Well, what, did North Carolina just get wiped off the map and come back?
Temporarily, I guess. I mean, they're filing back in. But still, as Blake said, this is a pivotal race right now for these guys, and stuff like that just can't be happening, and that's just out of their control, really. Nothing they can do about that at all.
Yeah, and that may not even, I don't even think that's an iRacing issue. That's a service provider issue. It's probably Spectrum or whoever they have.
Way to go, Spectrum.
Santiago Tires looking at the points without the drop, or sorry, with the drop, is 42nd.
Not good.
He needs a good finish. He needs a good finish here, and he had one going. And
yeah, he was 6th.
Whatever connection issues he had tonight may have just derailed his shot at making the next round, unless he goes and wins out these next 2 races.
Has Santi even? He said he connected again, but I don't see him anywhere. It still says he's not
on track yet.
Oh, man. That's
and again, this race is going to count, too. His drop was the first week at Mid-Ohio. He couldn't be in attendance, so he has a 0 for a drop. And so this race will count towards his total, so that's definitely going to hurt him.
All the practice laps, all the setup work, all the practice qualifying laps, done just like that. That's a tough way for a week to come to an end.
It looks like things settled down, and we'll keep on trucking. Coming to 40 laps to go here from Darlington. Nice little battle shaping up from about 8th on back to 12th. You've got Seth the Merchant, Michael Bumgarner, Jake Nichols, Brendan John Kohler, and Wyatt Tinsley all kind of near each other right now and according together.
Surprised we only have 19 trucks on the lead lap. I mean, of course, we had one issue with there. We had a couple of early wrecks, but this race has really gotten strung out. It's one of those races where if you're a driver, you love it because you want your speed and your truck to kind of have the biggest impact on your performance. It may not be the most exciting for us. We may not have all this drama and wrecks and storylines, but as a driver who's trying to make their way to the Coke Series, these are the type of races that you dream for, that you can let your speed and your merit kind of speak for itself.
Truck onto pit road. Is that Dustin Johnson again? Not even pulling into a box. Getting off the track. He's done. He's home. Jake Nichols just passed Michael Baumgartner for the 9th spot. Further behind him, here comes Tinsley looking underneath Brendan John Kohler.
Tinsley's had a pretty amazing drive from 24th. This would be 11th if he completes this pass, and looks like he's going to be able to do it. So I would say at least looking at teams-wise, it seems like I know some of the NFR teams have performed really well. You see Buttafuoco's made his way up to third. Tinsley's drove through the field. Tyler Gary's running second in the other split. So North Force Racing doing a very solid job. Andrew Navarro is pitting. Your race leader is on pit road.
Wow. That's only 21 laps on this run. That is unscheduled, written all over it.
So they can't make it to the end, it looks like. Andrew Navarro, the first one to come onto pit road, and in a sense split this in half, but really he's not. This is a shorter run than what he would run from here to the checkered flag.
And I was looking at the times, Blake, with him. He didn't really fall off that much. He only fell off about like 5/10, so it kind of evened out even when he pit really early the first set.
I'm just really confused because we made, a lot of drivers made it to about lap 63 or so. Oh, but Navarro's short pit. So he's probably, so we had a caution. Everybody was able to save for 2 or 3 laps. We hear that Ryan Doucette's clutching. So yeah, that caution in the first part of the race significantly helped these drivers get to that halfway point. But there's something they have to save. There you see engine shutting off, RPMs go down, gauge is down there at the bottom. So this is a fuel mileage race because of that very early caution. And Navarro, he's short pit to try and keep the lead, and that probably kept him from being able to make it to the end.
Oh, man, trouble there.
4, one in the wall.
It's off the track. I don't think it's going to be a caution. Johnny Avila.
That is a wheel issue. Yep, his wheel broke because he full locked it to the left.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
If we can get a replay, we'll see that. Oh,
Back
man,
rolling.
just like the real deal, mechanical issues play a factor. Take a look. This is this lap. We're going into 1, and this happens at a turn 4. So watch the left front wheel if we can see it. He hits the wall. This was the previous lap, but there you see the wheel just full lock to the left. And that's not of his doing. He slams on the brake to try to get it fixed. But man, that's another tough break. We'll see it. Watch here. Watch the hands just hit the wall and go straight, and that thing is turning left.
Now, Avila has had a good season up to this point. 26th in points, 25th without the drop. His worst finish came 2 weeks ago at IRP. Right now, he sits in just the 21st position. So if he can keep this thing rolling, he may still be able to get a decent points day out of it, but he really needs points in order to stay in contention for the next round. Let's talk pit strategy, just because we're not sure. Let's go to Justin.
I'm looking at the lap times for Andrew Navarro, and I wouldn't necessarily call him completely out of it right now. Pitting that early might have been a great strategy call to try and get the most out of the 4 fresh tires. If everybody else is trying to clutch and save to the end, he's going to be picking up 2, maybe even 3 seconds on these guys per lap. So it could be a winning strategy if this race goes green to the end.
He is flying right now. If we go look at him, he's like Justin said, he is going full mash right now because he can't make it. He just zoomed right by Jordi Lopez and Chris Hill, and he's making his way to the front of the field. There you see him in the blue truck, and he is just making these guys look like they're standing still right now.
How about a good
he needs this race to go green. If there's a caution...
Tinsley gets turned! Freynars turns Wyatt Tinsley hard into the inside wall. Still no caution as the field continues to go by off the inside wall again, and Tinsley stays under green. He pulls back up toward traffic.
We stay green! Are you kidding?
Wyatt is pleading for a caution right now, but as we said, the apron is way too big at this racetrack, and iRacing cautions are mainly thrown for incidents on the track. Take another look here. That's Drew Freenage in that blue truck right underneath, and just a little bit of net code.
Tinsley hit the wall right there. Yeah, Tinsley pulled it off the wall, and then I think you have a little bit of net code there as well.
Oh, man. Tinsley making his way onto pit road right now. And Wyatt is not a happy camper on the radio right now, justifiably so.
And again, that's one of those things. iRacing is, for certain tracks, you can get some quick yellows. Certain tracks you can't, and Darlington's one of those tracks. If it is off the racing surface, you are probably not going to get a yellow.
He has had a strong first round. Here in this second round, he sits 8th. Worst run was at Mid-Ohio, only got 16 points out of it. but he's had 3 solid runs at Pocono, Michigan, and IRP, 3 top 10s, 2 of them being in the top 5. But a bad race all of a sudden here toward the end of this one with the contact off turn 4 to put him into the wall. Dustin Johnson has parked the car. He is done for the night. 28 to go.
Fastest truck in the top 10, Kevin King. And that 29/13 car in the sim. Right now about a 10th faster than the front 4 ahead of him, or front 3 ahead of him, I should say. So we mentioned Kevin King's strength on the long run during the first run in the first part of this race. So same thing in this part of the race. He's got a lot of clean air, and he might be able to get up to these guys by the time the next set of pit stops come around.
Doucette with a 2.2 second lead over Daniel Botafuco. Kyle Myers sits third. Got 24 cars, 24 trucks still on the lead lap. Still running at least. Tinsley is a lap down. I believe Shane Williamson is a lap down as well.
Ethan Lane up at the front here.
Vila. Ethan Lane, he is also a lap down. He's the first truck one down.
He has given our front runners a very hard time. Botafuco is trying to get by him. I don't know if Ethan Lane made a pit stop. I have to double check, but he is not going down without a fight here to Botafuco and Myers.
Recently he didn't. Last time he was on pit road was, 31 laps ago with everybody else.
And looking back at Navarro and the time he's making up, I mean, he's making up a decent amount. I just wonder when that advantage starts to go away. We see it here in iRacing with the way the tires work right now. You will have an advantage for a very long time, but eventually there's kind of a leveling off that happens, towards the mid part, towards the end of the run. And does that happen to Navarro? Does that advantage that he has that right now is about a second and a half a lap, when does that start to dissipate and turn into 7/10 or 5/10, or does it continue because Doucette and the like can save fuel? I tend to like the position that Doucette and Botafuco are in, saving fuel, because it is so easy to save fuel here. You can lift so early here and not lose a ton of time doing it, but we'll see. Navarro, I don't think he's going to come out poorly at this. It may not be a winning move, but he's certainly going to, if this cycles out, at least get a top 10 out of it, which for where he sits in points would be more than enough.
So Wyatt Tinsley back on pit road. He's got a black flag. That's why he's coming back to pit road. Battle for second heating up. Daniel Botafuco out in front. Kyle Myers wants the spot.
Myers dives it into turn number 1, and as Blake alluded to in the top of the broadcast, dirty air is a huge factor in these trucks. So if you are just maybe a little bit to the right of the right rear fender of the truck ahead of you, you're going to get hit with a lot of tight conditions in these things. That's why you see Myers running the bottom there compared to Botafuco running the top in 3 and 4. It just all depends on how he can use the draft on the straightaways and stay out of the dirty air in the corners to where he could probably make a move on Botafuco. But right now, it looks like he's just comfortable holding serve in third right now, as we still got a little bit to go in this thing, approaching 21 laps to go. But he can't wait for too long if he wants to make up as many points as he can.
Battle for 5th. Jory Lopez Jr., Christopher Hill back here. As I mentioned, again, P5. Trying to navigate through some of this lap traffic as well.
Again, this is about the time in the Cook Series race where we thought everything was going to stay strung out, nothing too much was going to happen, and then we had that late race caution that kind of shook everything up. So, it may appear like everybody's spread out, but you just never know. I mean, obviously we had a wreck, it just didn't bring out a yellow with Wyatt Tinsley.
That was surprising that did not bring out the caution flag, but nonetheless, we keep it green. 20 to go, and still looking at the lap times here for Navarro. Only picked up 9/10 of a second that last time by. He's already starting to fall off, and he has a long way to go to get to the front of the field. The gap almost 20 seconds back from Ryan Doucette.
And the tough part about where Navarro is right now, he does have the fresher tires, but he's got to put down borderline qualifying laps to try to make up the time he lost. And as Blake alluded to earlier, the faster you go, the harder you push these tires, the more and more they'll wear out. And this track, as we alluded to it earlier before too, just chews up tires. So he's really just making this process quicker than it needs to be, while the guys at the front are more focused on saving tires, or saving fuel, I should say. And that's preserving their tires a little bit better at the same time.
Second, third, fourth, closing in. You can see it right here. Kyle Myers now the middleman. Kevin King closing in. Daniel Botafuco out in front trying to pull away.
It's a good battle going on right here. Inside the top 5. Botafuco kind of running times that have been pretty comparable to Ryan Doucette. I wouldn't say one is gaining or one's pulling away right now. That's pretty much the way it's been up here. So a lot of these drivers have really started to match their pace up here, and this is when it gets really difficult. You have to almost wait for someone to make a mistake to be able to make a pass because of how important the clean air is and how difficult it can be to pass here. You see Kevin King try to go to the top of 3 and 4. We've really seen 3 and 4 open up because of that dirty air. They've evened out a lot of these grooves. They're able to see pretty much where the truck in front of them goes. They try to go somewhere else to try to get a little bit of clean air.
It's battle for third. Botafuco able to pull away. Kevin King all over the back door of that 81 of Kyle Myers. 21, whatever it says on the 81. I was right.
One of those numbers. We'll see where Kevin tries to attack this in 3 and 4. We saw last lap he went to the middle, then kind of diamonded it down to the bottom. Looks like he tries to do the same thing here, but Blake, it is so hard, as you said earlier, when the tires wear out to line up passes here. You know, you can get to the guy's rear bumper, as Kevin King's done, with plenty of time left here, but how long is it going to take just to pass with that, if he even does make the pass work? It just gets so narrow when you try to make a pass here.
Yeah, I mean, there's really just not much you can do, especially that high line is so good, especially in 1 and 2, that really your only passing opportunity, or at least your best passing opportunity, I would say, is either the entry to 1 or anywhere really through 3 and 4. You can kind of use the side draft down the front straightaway, but making a move in 1 and 2, if you don't have it right at the entry to the corner, you just kind of have to ride along and hope to be able to get a run off of turn 2, set yourself up well, and try to get into turn number 3. We'll see if right behind Daniel Botafuco, if Kevin King can do that, but right now you just see that you kind of get about a truck length back, and there's just not a whole lot you can do unless that driver in front of you makes a mistake.
Christopher Harrell's got the same problem right behind him, trying to get by Jory Lopez Jr. He got to him. He just hasn't been able to get by him. Both these guys are running out of time. We've got just 13 laps to go here from Darlington.
So an update on Andrew.
Go ahead.
I was about to say, an update on Andrew Navarro. That advantage he had with fresh tires, well, it's kind of reached that point. It's evened out. He's only 2-3 tenths a lap faster. That's not going to be enough here with just 13 laps to go to try to make something up. He just passed Kyler Wynn, for 13th spot. So, again, not a terrible points night, but assuming he can't, obviously he came down pit road because he could not make it to the end, but not going to be a winning effort on this extra pit stop for Andrew Navarro.
Like it. Coming up next on FTF.GG, we're back Saturday night, 9:45 Eastern, the Barbersville FTF Cup Series. We're in the playoffs. Racing at Darlington in the next gens. In a week from tonight. Go ahead.
Let's say, talk about dirty air in this truck. The next gens for FTF, it's going to be a whole other ball game with those.
Yeah, no doubt about it. SimCar is back a week from tonight, 8:30 Eastern, from Circuit of the Americas. Winsdale kicks off next Sunday at 8 o'clock from Dover. Chase, if you will, of the Winsdale Gen 4 Challenge. The short course series is back a couple Mondays from now, September 12th at 9:20. Of course, we are back 2 weeks from tonight, Thursday, September 15th, 9 o'clock Eastern. The eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series from Bristol Dirt. Catch that all more right here on FTF.GG. 10 to go.
really curious to see how many drivers, as we've had this 2-round format, we typically see as we get later on in this round and drivers get mathematically or what they think is realistically eliminated, tend to not participate in some of the later races. So I wonder, for a lot of these drivers that are putting themselves in a really good points position, you imagine we'd have fewer drivers for Bristol Dirt. Just the fact it's 2 races left, it's dirt, and there's just not much to fight for if you're not still hunting for the top 20. So I'll be interested to see what the car count is. We had about 60 tonight, I think. There's 30 in this split, either 29 or 30 in the other one. So interested to see how many we get next week that are still going to try to make their way in the top 20.
5 trucks show up next.
You really want that, Jake? 5 trucks?
No. Well, next week it won't matter because there is no race next week. I screwed up. 2 weeks' time.
There you go.
That's when we're back. All right, well.
I know where we are.
Yeah. 8, I know who you are. 8 to go.
I know who you are.
Here from Darlington, Ryan Doucette trying to come away with his first win on the season, and everybody behind him is running out of time to catch up as everybody now stringing out throughout this top 7. They've all strung out. This is the closest battle right here between Jory Lopez and Christopher Hill, but Hill just keeps knocking. He can't come in. He can't get by.
As me and Blake were talking about earlier with this and Kevin King, we see Kevin King ahead has kind of lost some time to Kyle Myers. And that dirty air, not only does it hold you up, but it also wears out the right front tire a lot quicker if you stay in it too long. As we see just behind down the back straightaway, that 36 Brendan Kohler, he's having some speed issues right now. He's been a little slower than the cars around him, so he's trying to let some people go. So he slips back to the 12th spot there, just let James Wenzel go by. But going back to Christopher and Jordy, Chris is just in that spot where he's just kind of stuck right now. He's trying his best to maybe set something up to try to get alongside Jordy, but he's not going anywhere with the amount of time we have on these tires, plus the amount of wear that right front's experiencing. But I'm telling you, something that's happening right now, these trucks, this I guess trio is slowly kind of reeling in the trucks ahead of them. So who knows, maybe we could see one huge battle for 3rd or 2nd right here as Buttafuoco slips by the lap traffic and Myers is all over the back bumper.
Trying to look to the outside, but there was no room. He had no run. That cost him time. That might allow Buttafuoco to hold on to that 2nd position, barring a bump and run from Kyle Myers if he feels so inclined to do so. Andrew Navarro, by the way, update on him after his pit stop. He sits 12th. He may be able to pick up 11th from Wenzel, maybe 10th from Baumgartner, but that's going to be it. Not going to get many more spots than that because he'd have to make up almost 7 seconds to get to Freydars, who's in 9th.
I'm trying to think about how much this will help a lot of drivers that are in. I mean, 3 of your top 4 drivers right now are not in the top 20 in points. Ryan Doucette's not there. Neither is Kyle Myers. Kevin King is a little further back than he'd like to be in the 32nd spot. So this is going to kind of help flip the script a little bit for a lot of these teams who are looking to try to make up some points here. Typically, you always see, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. A lot of drivers who are doing very well in points, once they hit their stride in these Road to Pro races, it seems like that's the way it kind of goes, that you see that a lot of the same drivers in the top 5 or so. So this will be a big swing in the points for a lot of these drivers to kind of get above that cut line.
Death to Merchant on the back door of Christopher Hill for 6th. We've got 3 laps to go. Does anybody push it too hard in these final couple laps, cause a crash, and send us to eNASCAR overtime? There are battles all over this racetrack. There you see one. That's for 10th. Wenzel and Baumgartner.
Man, and Baumgartner, we saw him struggling with the handling of that truck earlier, almost destroys the wall there, and there's the aforementioned Andrew Navarro, takes it to the apron into turn 1 to make this pass, so move Andrew up to 11th. He still could very well get a top 10 out of that, but man, that was a very close call for Baumgartner. He's able to keep it off the wall, as there you see Ryan Doucette crossing the line here for lap 120.
Last lap here from Darlington, and Ryan Doucette looking to pick up his first win on the season here in the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. He has not gone to victory lane this year, as I mentioned, and this is certainly going to help his chase to move on and make the top 20 in points through 3 and 4. It's Ryan Doucette for Altus Esports, winning at Darlington.
Botafuco second, Myers third, King fourth, Lopez, Hill to Merchant.
And I mean, we're pretty much right in sync with the other split too. Joey Brown just crossed the line and the opposite split. So there's your two winners, Ryan Doucette and Joey Brown. Joey Brown, I mean, my goodness, has he been on tear this season.
Death, taxes, and Joey Brown winning. That's what, 3 out of 5 races he's won this year?
He's probably the most expensive bet in their daily fantasy eNASCAR cards for these races.
He only has 1 win. I'm surprised. One at Mid-Ohio in our split. He had some good runs going, had a good run at Pocono, good run at Michigan before some extracurriculars kind of got him out of the running. Decent run at IRP, but he goes to victory lane. That ties him with Andrew Navarro for most wins on the season. Has 2 as well. Where is Doucette in the points with the drop? 36th. We'll see how that changes at the end of the night. See where he winds up once points get counted and everything. We'll talk with our top 3 momentarily. Let's go through our results. Ryan Doucette, the winner. Daniel Botafuco second, Kyle Myers third, Kevin King fourth, Jory Lopez Jr. in fifth, Christopher Hill sixth, Seth the Merchant seventh, Jake Nichols eighth, Drew Freynars ninth, James Wenzel. Good run for him, rounding out the top 10.
Andrew Navarro comes back to finish 11th. Michael Bumgarner able to recover right there, hold steady with the damage in 12th. Brendan Kohler finishes in 13th. Kyler Wynn, I'd say better than what you would have expected with how much damage he had early on. He brings home a 14th place finish. Dalton Collins in 15th. Blaze Crawford 16th. Timmy Pacioli, your final truck on the lead lap, in 17th. Thomas Keane 18th. Ethan Lane 19th. And Johnny Avila rounds out your top 20.
And the rest of the field, Christian Peterson brings it home 21st, Colton Salick 22nd, Shane Williamson 23rd, Wyatt Tinsley, another tough break for him tonight, 24th, Dustin Johnson 25th, the toughest break of everybody in the field, Santiago Tires, just not in the cards tonight for him, unfortunately, with the internet issues, so he will finish 26th. Garrison Hogan 27th, Tanner Love 28th, Max Brady 29th, and rounding out this field, Omar Diallo in 30th.
Let's talk with our top 3. We'll begin with Ryan Doucette, your race winner here from Darlington. Ryan put on a clinic there at the end. We know strategy was a factor. Andrew Navarro made the call to pit with almost 40 laps to go. You stayed out there, and turns out your call was the right decision.
Yeah, I was a little concerned because I knew I was real close to making it one more lap when I pitted, and I wanted the other lap just for insurance, but clearly it didn't end up meaning much because this truck was on rails. Even though I was saving fuel, we still just pulled like crazy. All the Altus guys gave me a great truck to work with tonight.
The Altus guys have been strong all season long. The big goal now has to be looking forward. Hender, I know not everybody's locked in. Really, nobody's locked in yet, but you're all at least on the doorstep of that top 20, looking toward Contender, because Contender did not go as well a season ago for Altus Esports.
Yeah, didn't go too well for me either with my old team, but I think, hopefully we'll end up a little bit better in the B car. I mean, we've got some really good momentum rolling in the truck here, and that's what the main focus is right now. I mean, I know coming into this race, I was still 16 positions below the cut line, and this finish is going to take a huge weight off my shoulders. Still got to wrap up the truck, and that's where all of our main focus is, but hopefully we'll be just as good in the B car.
How about Bristol Dirt in 2 weeks' time? Not conventional for these trucks or this series. Throwing in a wrinkle a little bit for next week?
I know a lot of people are nervous about Dirt Bristol, and I fully expect it to be a mess, but I really enjoy dirt racing in stock cars, and hopefully we'll be just as competitive as we were tonight. I can't thank all these guys enough. All the Altus guys, like I said. Matt Danson for the awesome throwback to my Coke Series car from last year. You guys are putting on the broadcast, like I said, the Altus guys for the great setup. And everyone out there for racing me clean. And keeping it green for that last run.
That's Ryan Doucette. Your winner tonight at Darlington. We'll see him in 2 weeks' time from Bristol Dirt. Now, second place finisher Daniel Botafuco with Blake McCandless.
We'll catch up here with Daniel, and, well, a great run that you had tonight, Daniel. What kind of stress relief is it now getting to where we're 2 races away from the drop or from the, I guess, cut line or so, and now you're 14 points above?
Definitely helps out a lot. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I had a pretty solid piece. Messed up qualifying again, unfortunately. My bad. We got a little bit of damage there in that first initial start because everybody got a little greedy there on the throttle, so we got a little bit of rear end damage. But I don't know if it affected us too much. Either way, we had a great piece. Could have maybe saved my fuel a little bit better that last stint there. It was going to be tight for a lot of us, but Ryan did an amazing job. I want to say congrats to him. He did awesome to win that. Same for Kyle in third. It was a great race. I'm happy. Just happy to get second from 8th place. It's a hard thing to do at this track, especially with how bad the dirty air is. But gotta say, made it a lot easier having 2 great people in the box, and Vince Marsh and JD Laird. They did a great job keeping me calm with that fuel mileage. It was not an easy thing to try to balance, but they kept me easy, and everybody over at Norris Force and SRD Setups. It's been a long awaited result. We've had a lot of races, past 3 races this season. We should have had probably top 5s, but just things haven't gone our way. So it feels good to have a really good result. I'm just really, really happy about how everything went. It was great.
Now we have 2 tracks left in this schedule, Bristol Dirt and Texas. Is there either one that you feel particularly good about?
I see all tracks equal. I mean, I know Bristol Dirt is dirt, and I'm not weak at it, but that's still an opportunity for me to go out and have a really great run or try to go out there and win. I'm not good at it, but that's not going to phase me, though. So I'm going to work as hard as I can to get the setup right, figure out how to drive on dirt. And for Texas, same thing. It's more of a plate race, I guess. Unfortunately, it'll probably spread out in the long run, but still, it's another opportunity. So I see both of them equally, and I'm going to work just as hard on both of them, if not a little bit harder, to make sure the setup's right and just make sure that we execute really good. Because if we have races like we had here tonight, we'll hopefully see ourselves in the next round. But I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. It's a great race, but always time to find at a racetrack, and just really happy. Gonna try to hopefully we can get one more spot better. That'd be great. But once again, thanks to everybody who's been a part of it. You guys with the broadcast. And let me tell you that Pro League throwback came in pretty clutch. That was great. Maybe we should run it the rest of the season. That'd be really cool.
We'll see if you can do it. But nevertheless, great run tonight, Daniel. And hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks' time as well.
Yeah, thank you guys. Take care.
Daniel Botafuco finishes in second. One more driver to catch up with. He'll catch up with Sean Butler here in just a moment. And there he is, Kyle Milers with Sean Butler.
Kyle bringing on P3, man. A race of attrition for this one for sure. Only 1 caution on this one. You did a good job, though. Drove from 14th on the grid to 3rd. Tell us about how you got there.
Yeah, I really starting 14th. Did not think we was going to see it past lap 1, but I mean, we all know how Darlington can get with that many people that close on time. First run, I was just trying to use them up just to get closer to the front, just in case it was going to be a caution fest, but kind of burnt them up. And then second run, it was just a fuel game. Should have probably waited a little bit, but still came home 3rd. So it was still a good points day for us being on kind of the cut line there.
Yeah, definitely would say it's a good job for you guys sticking to the strategy. When you guys saw drivers pitting early, Andrew Navarro, of course, he pit before everybody else in both of the pit cycles. So were you guys thinking about maybe calling it audible when you saw Andrew ducking in, or were you guys committed to stick with the strategy you guys set?
No, we were pretty committed. I think once we seen him pit, we all kind of knew there's no way he's going to make it. But I mean, the second, I had saved more the first run just going through the field, not using as much gas. Second run, I thought I could make it full bore from where I was, but still had to end up saving about a lap and a half. So did it. the other ones didn't really throw us off. We kind of stuck to our game.
And it turned out to be the right call for sure to get you guys a P3 here tonight. So we've asked our other two finishers, Ryan and Daniel, about Bristol Dirt coming up. So you mentioned you're right on the cut line without that drop now. So how does your approach change heading into Bristol Dirt for the next race?
Like any other week, practice a lot. Going to try to practice a lot. We got the ace in our back pocket with Dalton Collins over there with us, so I'm sure he's going to put on a few lessons and clinics over there in our camp. So it should be good. I'm really looking forward to Texas. Usually pretty good at Texas. So if we can just get past Bristol, I think we should be okay.
Absolutely, man. We'll go enjoy your P3 tonight here. Excellent run for you guys, and we'll see you at Bristol in 2 weeks' time. Congrats on P3 there, Kyle. Nice job.
All right, thanks. And thanks to everybody at Legacy Esports and Blackstone Management Partners. They do a lot for us. Champion Power Equipment, Green Mountain Grills. And you guys for putting on a hell of a broadcast. You guys are awesome.
Oh, we appreciate it, man. You're too kind. But Kyle, appreciate it, man. Go enjoy it. Jake, and we'll send it back up to you.
Thank you, Sean. And just 2 races to go now on the season. We're almost at the end of this deal already. We're almost September started today, but we're almost at the end of September already here for the end of this season. We end just 1 day before October. I can't believe how quick this has flown by.
It has gone pretty quickly, Jacob. And again, we still have a lot to talk about. A lot of drivers who now are on the outside looking in. I think looking at the points right now, 25th. There's still about 6 or 7 drivers that are right there on that cut line. Kevin King now 5 points out. Ryan Doucette, first driver in, 5 points to the good. So plenty of drivers still with their dreams alive, but time's running out.
No doubt about it. And Bristol Dirt in 2 weeks' time. There's no real good way to describe what that race could be. It's got the fear of a plate track, the unpredictability of a plate track, and then you've also got the chaos that comes along with short track races. We come to know when we go to Bristol in this series.
It's everything that a fan could want. It's everything that a driver couldn't want. So drivers like predictability and all that. They know where they stand, but Bristol Dirt is going to be as big of a toss-up as we've had all season. So we asked every one of our drivers tonight on the podium how they're feeling about heading into Bristol Dirt, and all of them kind of seemed just like not really sure about how everything's going to go. So a lot of I don't want to say I heard kind of fear in their voices when that was brought up, but they didn't really sound all that confident. But who knows? Someone's going to figure something out for that race, and they're going to apply it, and they're going to see how it works. But I'm interested to watch it. As far as maybe driving it, not so much, but these guys will get these trucks tuned up for that race for sure. And I guess may the best man win during those races for sure. It's going to be a heck of a race to watch.
And I have a feeling with that as well, Sean, you're dealing with, like, everybody's driven a truck at Texas. How many people have driven a truck at Bristol Dirt? I think that's where you're going to run into an issue in 2 weeks' time, where it's the lack of experience, the lack of knowledge of what to expect, the lack of practice. Like I said, everybody's run a truck at Texas. You know how that's going to go. Bristol Dirt is unpredictable just because they don't run it in the trucks often, ever. So it'll be really fun to see how these guys adapt 2 weeks' time when we come back here. In the meantime, the Barversville FTF Cup Series is back on Saturday night here from Darlington. There's a whole lot more coming your way on FTF.GG. We're back in 2 weeks' time from Bristol Dirt. Be a lot of fun in 2 weeks. See what happens. Ryan Doucette, your winner tonight from Darlington to end race 5 of round 2 of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. For all of us here at FTF.GG, for Zach Johnson, our producer, for Justin Malone down on pit road, and for the guys with me, Sean Butler and Blake McCandless, I'm Jacob Pitts saying so long from Darlington.